Hello, everyone. And I'm recording this because I had a major revelation day, multiple revelation day, and I want to try to get that articulated to you as succinct as possible. It could be 10 or 15 minutes. It could be 20 to 25 minutes. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can. Um, and one of the things I did was do an outline. So I'm going to talk about two homeless guys, two birds, and two videos. So one of the videos you've got already. This is the one that I was talking about that talks about sleep and the multiple levels of sleep and how those levels affect us on all levels, including our spiritual lives. And that is now in the goodie box. Uh, and it's the title to it is something like They Hid the Real Effects of Sleep or something like that. And the voice that is narrating it made pains to say nobody's hiding anything. So you take that as you wish. So that's one of the videos. One of the homeless guys. I was at the coffee house I normally go to, Pete's Coffee House, sitting close to my usual seat, but somebody was in my usual seat, and that's significant. Um, and reading, writing, doing what I normally do in a situation like that. The person was sitting in my normal seat, got up and left, and a homeless guy that I'd seen on the street before came in, and he's sitting pretty close to me, like one seat over. And he is turned in my direction, and I have the assumption that he is looking at me. And I don't want to engage with anybody, so I did not engage with him. Um, the staff at Pete's was saying, you can't be in here unless you're buying something, and he was ignoring them. And then after about 10 minutes, he left, and then he came back in and sat down, same seat again. And they said the same thing to him. And he said to them, "You're making this really hard." And I thought that was an interesting thing to say because my thought was, what does he think he's doing? You know, um, he was sitting outside. There's places to sit outside. There's places to sit outside in some of the other businesses. And it wasn't a bad day yesterday, so he could do that. Um, but he came back in and they were trying to get him out again. And he just kept repeating, "You're making this really hard." And I started trying to parse what are they making hard? Um, are they making his life hard? Well, yeah, of course. That's something that happens. Um, but I got the impression that they were making it hard for him to connect with me. And then I said, okay, do I have any responsibility here? Do I have any duty here? Do I have anything to connect with, etc.? And I was thinking, a lot of times it's just that not only do you need human connection, you need a certain quality or a certain kind of connection. And a particular person can give you that. And I know that there have been times when I've been in places where I will consciously sit near someone to um, equalize our energy. Um, and maybe that's what he needed from me. I didn't know. And then by that time, pizza's closed up, so it's time for me to go anyway. Um, but I was thinking, this thing of the transference of energy without conscious communication. Um, if you asked him what was he doing there, he may not have been able to articulate it. He probably would have never said, that guy the black guy that's sitting over there, he's got energy for me, and I'm just here to absorb it, you know. Um, so I thought, that was interesting. The second homeless guy. So I have a circuit that I walk. After they kick us out of Pete's Coffee House at 5 o'clock, I walk down to Goodwill to see if they have any new books on the racks. Because, as I said, Goodwill's a great place for books. Um, and I look around at some of the other stuff, and then leave with or without my books. And then I walk over to Lloyd Center, which is the in town. This is for those who are not in Portland. Um, Lloyd Center is the in town mall, which is dying. Very, very few stores open. I was walking over, and at the door, um, there was a homeless guy blocking the electric door, blocking it open. And um, standing right where I would have been standing, where I need to walk through. This is unusual. Um, there's another door. I could have walked around him and into the mall, but I felt I had some work with him. And so I walked up as though to say, um, excuse me, I need to get through the door here. And he's looking at the floor and he says, I wish there was something I could do. And I looked at where he was looking, and there was a very small bird on the floor standing there. This 3 feet away from both of us. Not a usual thing that you see walking into the mall. And so um, I paused, and he says again, looking at the bird, I wish there was something that I could do. I don't know if it's hurt or not. I don't know if it will let me pick it up or not. And then he kept talking. He said, if I could pick it up, I'd find a box and I'd put, some grass or some twigs in the box, and I'd try to find some food for it, but I don't know what kind of food that it wants to eat. And he's looking at the bird. Okay, and the bird is absolutely still. Its eyes are open, but for some birds, you can't tell. I mean, sometimes their eyes are open when they're dead. Um, but it's standing upright, but it's not moving an inch, and it's not reacting to either one of us. And um, the homeless guy he's not blocking me. If I just said, excuse me, he would have moved out of the way. Um, There were other people coming and going, but they were walking around our door. And then they were started like, what are they doing there? And they started looking in the direction we're looking at and saw the bird. And some of them started, well, were stopping. And so this guy goes on for a bit. I don't know whether it's too cold or whether it's, it was hurt by something. I don't know if it's hurt at all. And this bird is just not reacting. And I said, I don't know either. This is not new to me. But yeah, I don't know what it needs. Um, I don't know if it's just trying wants to get out or whatever. And the thing that struck me is um, this is a person that you would easily characterize as homeless or in need himself. And his primary and actually all-consuming thought was the welfare of this other very little tiny being. And I said, if it needs anything, it probably needs water more than it needs food. Um, and uh, and he said, well, maybe there's something I can carry water in, or and it's interesting. I usually carry a water bottle with me, but I didn't have one that day. Um, and okay, this is where it gets interesting. So I started thinking about that. So this bird is, like I said, really small and gray, and about the size of a baby chick. And that started making me think of baby chicks, and that started making me think about Arthur Kessler and the experiment with the baby chicks and the random number generator. And that got me thinking about holonic consciousness. And as soon as I started thinking about holonic consciousness, the chick perked up and looked right at me. Now, the guy is talking and he's saying, I want to help the bird. I want to do this. I would like to do that. But the bird, it looks at me and then it cocks its head like, are you paying attention? Um, and I'm thinking, first of all, I got chills. And then second of all, like, okay, I guess maybe I better pay attention to this. Um, and um, the guy was saying, I don't know where to find some food. And I said, you're eating Cheetos. I don't give the bird a Cheeto. And he's looking at me and he says, well, do you think that it would make the bird sick? I said, it won't kill the bird any faster than it's killing you. So go for it. And he starts laughing, and I start laughing, and other people who are listening are laughing. And the bird is acting like, okay, I've done my thing now, so it's time for me to go, so y'all can get out of my way. Um, and I get out of the bird's way. And get a different kind of a lesson in um, my first word I want to say is compassion, but it's not really compassion. I mean, there's some compassion for the bird. I would like the guy, I would like to help the bird out, like literally help him out of the vestibule of Lloyd Center. Okay. Um, but there's another dynamic going on. And that is between me and this guy who I've ostensibly identified as homeless, but a guy who is trying to exercise compassion, not as a recipient, but as a deliverer. And being in a space where of all the people he could have stopped, or probably did stop, or they had to walk around him or whatever, um, I was the one that stuck. And once I stuck, other people started sticking. And um, this was another level for me of this consciousness that is shifting rapidly, like over the last 48 hours. Um, so the little gray bird triggered the thought of Kessler's baby chicks, and the thought of the baby chicks triggered this whole thing of um, consciousness across species. Um, when we are being compassionate with beings who are not human beings, when we are receiving compassion from beings who are not um, human beings, um, something in addition is going on. Okay. I think about this a lot when um, and looking at um, rescues that involve life and death. Um, the dogs whose owners get in really serious trouble, and the dog has to run for 10 miles to find and then get someone's attention to get them to run another 10 miles and save somebody's life. The dolphins that save human beings' lives just because they think it's cool. Um, the humans that save the dolphins' lives because they think it's cool. Um, and so I'm getting this kind of massive rethinking, recalibration of all that we've been doing regarding this notion of developing a new type of consciousness that will have a positive effect on, I was going to say human civilization, but all being civilization that we're working on. And then I turn my computer on. I come back home, turn my computer on, and there in my I did not turn the YouTube feed on, but it came on, and there's a video of that that is of the same for by the same person, same entity. I don't know that it's a person or not, that did the earlier video, um the one that I gave you the link for on sleep. And this one is on consciousness and going through similar levels of consciousness. And I'm being affected the same way. I mean, like he's not saying anything I don't know, but he's saying it in such a way, he's putting it together that it actually ties together, and it ties together, I think, in a very coherent way, regardless of what level you're listening to him on. So if all you've got is the surface level of consciousness, if that's it, it still puts it together for you, and it doesn't make you feel stupid for not having the other levels. Um, But once you get these other levels, then you start saying, oh, that's why this is happening that way, and that's why this is happening this way, etc. And well, about halfway through the video, as I'm listening to it, and I'm uh, took it over to the gym so I could be working out at the gym while I'm listening to it. Halfway through, I say to myself, the only thing he's not saying, the only thing he's not talking about that I talk about is holonic consciousness. That holonic consciousness ties all this together. So at 1 hour and 14 minutes, he starts talking about holonic consciousness. And he calls it collective consciousness, but same difference. Well, to me, it is different, but it's the difference in whether or not um, um, you're talking about sandals or shoes. Whether you call it a sandal, whether you call it a shoe, whether you call it a sneaker, I know you got something on your feet. Okay. And so whether you call it collective consciousness, holonic consciousness, um, uh, spirit consciousness, etc., I know you got something on your feet. And um, so all this is happening in this realm of uh, being able to refer people, first of all, you people, the people listening to this right now, and um, the people who will be listening to this video, and um, those who may be listening further. Um, that we really are heading somewhere. That this that um, all of these things are pointing in a direction. And that direction is one that we really, really need right now. And I'm happy it's happening right now. The title to the video is it's technically about what 0 point energy is. Okay. And if you don't know what 0 point energy is, after you listen to this, you will. Um, and the title is the 0 point energy is not what you think.